exchanges are what scammers see as honeypots. They go for the exchanges where there is millions and millions of dollars tied up with people just letting their money sit on the exchange. By understanding these 4 points, you can really time your entry like a pro, and it's quite effortless to do that. What we say is, well, okay, they've gone through their first bull market. What we want to do is look for the ones that are about to go through their first bull market now. Right under the nose of my beautiful family, and these things do happen, I was actually subjected to a lot of grooming. They were part of a lot of bad things that you should not be a part of, and I was made to either watch or experience many horrific things, and over a 4-year period experienced huge amounts of trauma. I realised that everything in life is a choice, and there was a point where I hit this fork in a road, which was I can remain to be a victim. But being a victim takes a lot of energy because you have to keep your life suppressed. And I realised that, well, if I'm going to be a victim, I can't be successful. I have to be in pain. I have to be in suffering. I have to think less of myself, because I realised that the past is simply the past.
Now, before we get into all the business stuff and the crypto stuff and the bull market and all that sort of stuff, I want to wind back to where it all started, right? So you've just, we had a chat offline. Interesting story about your family. So talk to me about your dad's a Kung Fu expert, right?
Yes.
And you grew up with that. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so we grew up with martial arts, with Kung Fu. My dad's probably taught 30,000 students in his lifetime, and
Wow.
he's been teaching for about 40 years now. And so my earliest memories were growing up around Kung Fu and Chinese weapons, Chinese lion, and dragon dancing, and all of those traditional aspects. So we kind of half grew up in a house and a Kung Fu school at the same time.
Super interesting. So, and your mother?
My mother's a stay-at-home mum, but I say she could have about 5 PhDs because she's one of those people that read and read and read. So she's an entire knowledge source. Yeah.
I always find it interesting, I just said this to you before, like where the siblings, because you've got siblings, you've got a younger brother and an older brother.
Yes,
You're
correct,
in business with your younger brother.
Yes.
And your older brother has his own company as well.
Yes.
And you have your own company.
Yes.
And your father is a Kung Fu specialist, right? It's super crazy how that comes together.
I know.
So you said to me that you helped him grow the company, right? Like he didn't know how to market the company or grow the company. Did he ask you to do that, or did you just like, hey, I'm going to do this and help you build out?
Yeah, well, there was a point where the digital side of things started to get more important than just say word of mouth and just walk-ins and the old school way. Like
What year was this, by the way?
This was 2015.
Okay.
Even earlier,
So he had like a retail
2011,
studio, right,
2011.
where people come in and...
Yeah,
Yep,
bricks and mortar,
okay.
two huge factory warehouses,
Yeah.
totally converted into a Shaolin temple kind of thing.
Cool.
So you're talking traditional wooden dummies, Chinese drums, the lions that we use for Chinese New Year, 30 of them across the wall, flags,
Wow.
incredible
Full
Chinese
on.
statues.
Yeah. He's
Very, very
committed.
authentic,
Yeah, yeah.
extremely authentic, yeah.
Yeah.
And at a point, this was around 2011, and there was a point where when you needed a website, you needed to have a place for people to look you up, you needed to have these sorts of social followings and a little bit more of a digital presence. And I could see that there was so much room to grow. So the inner entrepreneur in me volunteered to say, you know what, I will sort of move on from what I was doing at the time, which was actually teaching and educating and doing sound and music. And I came over to the martial arts schools. And from there, I spent about 7 to 8 years actually building up the martial arts schools. We went back and forth from China, Shaolin Temple. We've pretty much been to every major city across China, through Southeast Asia. The
Wow.
school was put into the Hall of Fame in Kuala Lumpur. We had celebrities, and we had people who trained with people like Jackie Chan and Jet Li, and people who had trained with Bruce Lee, and it was an incredible whirlwind and very, very busy. It was basically a 7-day-a-week operation, and it was around 2017 that I then started to sort of think and ask the questions. There must be sort of, how do I, is this sustainable, this level of work? And it was huge. It was a huge operation. Yeah.
That's super interesting because where do you get the skill to do that for your family, right, or for your dad? So you went to university. So I did a little bit of research on you, by the way. So you've got a degree in mathematics, is that correct? And one in physics, which is odd.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. Like, when did you do your degrees and then move into your father's business and start to help him? Is that where the knowledge came from, or where did that come from?
It was very much self-taught through curiosity. I'm a very creative person, so I was always naturally interested in how things worked and business and skill. I did a degree in mathematics and physics, and then I was also lecturing, I was also teaching, I was running labs, I was also writing books for students to help them learn physics easier.
Yeah.
So it was just I could apply myself into these sectors, but I really do believe it was earlier to that where my mum, actually interesting, would be taking myself and my brothers to business trainings, to developments and things like that, where we could learn new skills. And so anything that we showed a natural interest in, she would sort of support by sending us to extracurricular activities.
Right?
Yeah.
That's super interesting that she did that, because she's not a business person or a business owner herself.
No.
So she read books, gained knowledge, and understood that if I want to support my children, I should nurture what they're passionate and where their natural talent lies, right?
Definitely.
Would that be it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's how it happens for most entrepreneurs who, get pushed from their parents, or their parents don't push them at all and they just figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So this is crazy. So you're in music.
I have a diverse background.
Very diverse. It's a bit weird, I've got to be honest with you. So music,
Yes.
2 degrees in mathematics and in physics.
Yep.
Worked in the father's company to help him grow that. Like, that's all a bit all over the place, isn't it? It's weird.
Yeah. It was a natural, it was more so following what really grabbed my interest at the time, where my passions were. But also from my own heart, I really genuinely loved the martial arts schools that we were creating. I love the community. And for me, it felt like a project, something that I could have free reign into and develop and improve and make better and make it even bigger than what it was. So for me, it was like I looked at it as an opportunity, which I felt at the time would be something really interesting to jump at. And my parents sort of said, go for it, and you've got free reign to do what it is, because they trusted me and they trusted my ability. So it was very much a natural progression, even though different from one thing to the other.
So was the degree, the mathematical degree and the physics degree, is that a conscious decision? Was that a conscious decision for you?
Well, when I was in high school, I was fascinated by the way things worked, and mathematics. I loved how mathematics was so pure. Like, there was nothing subjective about mathematics. It was do this and the answer is 1, or you do 7 pages of long arithmetic and long form calculus, and you get to the end and the answer is 2 or 1 or something. And there's a level of perfection in mathematics. There's nothing subjective.
And that's what you like? Is that what you like?
Well, it was just like, I just loved how logical it was. I loved how flawless it was. There was no arguments. It was the way our universe worked. And so I've always had this inquisitive nature into how things function and how the whole world works beyond what we see.
I always think it comes down to math. Like, people want to make a decision in my company. I said, well, what does the data say?
Yes.
Like, let's not make emotional decisions and what you think we should do. Let's make decisions based on math, right? I'm a big fan of an algorithm, by the way.
Yeah.
I should put that on a t-shirt.
I'm a big fan.
I'm a big fan of algorithms because I think they're solid and they're logical.
Yeah.
And if the algorithm says that you'll end up here, you that's what'll happen.
Yeah.
Right? As long as the algorithm's correct. So, okay, so you had that natural tune to gravitate towards logic, right?
Yes.
Good for a business mind, right?
Yes.
Super good. I think entrepreneurs who they operate quite flippantly, chasing unicorns is what I call it.
Yeah.
Down the wrong path, and then they end up going out of business.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
All right, cool. So you're doing that, and then all of a sudden you get to the point of your career where you go, hey, I think I'm going to go out and start my own company, which you did with your brother. Did you do that on your own, and he joined you later? And how did this whole crypto thing come into play for you?
Yeah, so it was really interesting the way that one thing led to the other. So I was actually I heard about this entrepreneurial camp, out of all things, in 2015 or 2016. And there was about 5,000 people that applied to it and only 50 got in. It was run by multi-millionaires, even billionaires that are really successful company owners. It was in Northern Europe. And to apply, you had to do a video. They gave you no instructions. And so I did a video and I talked about the martial arts school. I talked about the success. And turns out one of the mentors is actually a huge Bruce Lee fan. Absolutely loved the community we'd built in Western Australia.
Yeah.
And I actually got approved. And so here I was in Northern Europe with 50 of the most incredible entrepreneurs, people that were basically leaders of their country, represented about 30 countries. And there I was from Australia with this huge martial arts school, sort of, that's my thing that I could talk about. And then they started talking about this thing called cryptocurrencies. And at the time, they were buying 5,000 Bitcoin at a time in multiple orders. And I thought to myself, what do they know that I don't? And then they were talking about this financial future. They were talking about the institutions that will one day be here, that the writing's on the wall, this is a new way, a new currency. And it piqued my interest so much. And I was still running the martial arts schools. I came back to Australia, and at the same time, my brother was actually a FIFO worker. And they say you have the golden handcuffs, meaning you can just never leave because the FIFO work is, they pay you really well, so you never leave. He was away for 2 months at a time. Eventually just sort of gave up on coming back for any family events, and it was quite depressing. And so on his swing home, we united forces. We're like, cryptocurrencies, let's dive into it. And he completely took a leap of faith, and so did I. And we started investing and learning everything and anything we could about crypto. We started placing our own investments in around the start of 2017. And it was there that we made our first big wins through cryptocurrencies. And then later in that year, people were asking us, how are you guys doing that? You know, how did you do this? What's the system, etc. And it was such an organic, very unexpected journey. We were helping our neighbours, we were helping friends of friends. Then we got asked, can you host a meetup group and, talk about crypto and go to a library and help, 6 or 7 people with their laptops? And yeah, that's fine. And that led one thing to the other. Then we had phone calls, and that's a whole, talk in itself. But that was kind of the way that it progressed from one to another. And eventually the martial arts school was sort of just running in the background, doing what it was doing. And the cryptocurrency one replaced the other. But there was this underlying theme of community. It was almost felt like it was a kung fu school, but for crypto. It was, the audience, and there was the community there. And so it was really interesting.
It's funny, when you talk about crypto, you're very passionate about it.
Yes.
You can just sense and feel that, right?
Yes.
Which is awesome. I want to wind back just a little bit, and I do want to do the crypto stuff, but so you got accepted into a very niche group, right?
Yes.
So that must have been conscious for you. Now, did your mum push you into that, or did you just go, "Hey, I saw this, I'm gonna give it a shot"? Because I'm trying to figure
my
out.
mum again.
Was it really? Okay, so she's doing that.
She actually said, I remember the very day she sent me an email and she says, check your inbox. I think you would get into this.
Wow.
And I instantly had this huge rush of excitement. And this is what my mum has always done for us. She's always sent us opportunity, seen our talents and seen, I think you could be good at ABC.
Yeah.
And encouraged us to go for the stars. And so I said, yep, okay. She helped me fill my application.
Was there any part of your mindset at the time that goes, I don't think I can do that? Or do you just do it?
Well, sometimes I think the martial arts in us gives us a lot of confidence.
Yeah. So discipline, right?
Discipline.
You've learned strength and discipline and control.
Yep. Definitely.
And accountability and responsibility.
Yes.
Because that's what martial arts teaches you.
But also bravery and courage, to be courageous.
Yeah.
And so you would almost think the impossible is possible because there's this level of centeredness. There's something in that. It's the bravery that you have with approaching life. You have a fearlessness. Is it fearlessness? Yeah. Fearlessness with the way that we would approach life, because martial arts gives that to us. And I found that gift has sort of carried right through.
Courage is important, right? It's a word that people don't use. I just call it courage. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that's innate in you? You just have that as part of your DNA because of your parents, or do you think it was the martial arts thing that built that callus?
Well, I do think it was I think the martial arts did build it, because I remember some of my earliest memories. I'm 6 or 7 years old and there's 500 people and my dad starts rolling the drum, says, go out and demonstrate one of your martial arts forms, and which is like a kata. So I would be frozen in absolute fear. And then he would go on and push my back. Go out there, you'll love it. And then I would go out all by myself in front of 500 people, do my demonstration, come back and be so proud of myself. Oh my God, and I conquered these things. And it was in that leap that taught me that I could do anything. Often fear is in the mind. The result will always be better than say sometimes the lead up or the experience itself. So yeah, there was a lot of that sort of guided.
That's a good statement, right? Fear is in the mind.
Yeah.
It totally is.
Yeah.
Totally is. I'm always trying to figure out what's the secret sauce for people, right? Because I find that super interesting. I deal with a lot of young entrepreneurs and I try and help them. I say that, well, the first hurdle you have to overcome is yourself. Right? You have your own insecurities, your own challenges. If you want to get here, you have to figure that out first. You know. And then I like that statement. People overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10, because it takes time, right? It just takes time. Cool. Okay, so you're churning through. You get accepted into that group in London. They start talking about cryptocurrencies. You go, hey, there's something in this. You come back to Australia. What year was that, if I can ask?
That was in 2016 that I came back.
2016. Okay, not that long ago. Okay, cool. You came back in 2016, and now you're on this thing, right? You feel something. You go, hey, there's something in this. If these guys are talking about it, these billionaires and multimillionaires are talking about there's something in it. You come back and then you start digging deep on this.
Yes.
And then you get your brother involved and you guys go, hey, let's start a company. Is that right?
Well, basically, we got so many people asking us, can you help us? Can you come to our place and help? Can you go here? Can you go here? So we like, let's just record something. Let's record what we're doing. And let's just upload that and then we can hand people a USB stick rather than doing it. So we used to do these 6-7 hour one-on-ones and it was impractical. One day we got a phone call and they said, would you and your brother be interested in presenting in about 5 days to about 60 investors? But the catch is we need 12 one-hour presentations written from scratch, all on cryptocurrencies. And my brother and I looked at each other and we said, yeah, we could do that. And so it was a day and night.
You had no idea at the time, did you? Yeah.
No idea how long that would take to curate content like that. So we actually created 12 60 to 90-minute presentations, presented that weekend. And it was from that experience that pretty much began this whole digital wealth group that it is today. It began this crypto company. Yeah.
So were you guys investing and then founded the company? How did that come together? Yeah, you were.
Yeah. So we got to a high level of success. We were investing heavily in the market. And then we found that people were going, how did you do it? What did you do? We were already traveling and having a lot of fun.
So people around you are watching you and going, hey, there's something in this. Okay, so someone approaches you that sort of, kicks you along a little bit. Confidence is building, right? You guys are learning, you're investing, you're making some money.
Yeah.
Confidence is building. Was there anything during that time that hit you, like that really, really hit you hard that you had to come out of?
So do you mean in relation to what we were just...
Yes.
Yep. So, so I was right under the nose of my beautiful family, and these things do happen. I was actually subjected to a lot of grooming, and that grooming then, by the time I was an adult, really informed my decisions on a very personal level and had me going into basically an organised crime syndicate, and within there was a very violent crime group. They were part of a lot of bad things that you should not be a part of, and I was made to either watch or experience many horrific things, and over a 4-year period experienced
that's a long time.
Huge amounts of trauma. And then most of my 20s, I was sort of high-functioning PTSD victim, you could say. I was. Can
I ask how old you were when this organised crime situation was taking place?
Yeah, so from about the age of 18 to about 20 to 21. So I managed to get out of that organisation at around 21. I sort of, for the first time, had this degree of clarity within myself that this isn't right. This grooming is all a lie. Everything I've been told is a lie, and I need to be out of here. And I got out of there, protected myself in that regard, and then went into many years of what I would call, I look back on now, I didn't realize how much PTSD I was actually living with, thinking was totally normal. It was not until my later 20s that I actually did a huge healing, went through a huge healing process, and really went back to revisit a lot of the lies and a lot of the things that I was taught to be true that just simply weren't. So the individual that grew me for a lot of years was extremely intelligent, very influential, and very much shaped my sort of teenage brain. And this was all happening right under the nose of my family. No one knew it was going on. He was a very close family friend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, those people can be highly influential, and in a lot of cases, they're quite successful, right?
Yeah.
So you don't see it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
So that created trauma, right?
Yep, huge.
I have this thing about trauma, and I hear people use that term, which is such a big word, trauma, because it gives them, I think, the indication that they can't get over that. You got over it. You didn't have a choice.
Yeah, that's right.
Or maybe you did have a choice and you made the right decision.
Yeah. Well, I did have a choice because I realized that everything in life is a choice. And there was a point where I hit this fork in a road, which was I can remain to be a victim. But being a victim takes a lot of energy because you have to keep your life suppressed. And I realized that, well, if I'm going to be a victim, I can't be successful. I have to be in pain. I have to be in suffering. I have to think less of myself. However, if I go through the path of, self-healing, self-growth, looking to improve myself and not be controlled by the past events, which is exactly that. It's the past. Recognizing that the clock ticks forward, not backwards, that I could recreate myself. And I really did this through a lot of conscious effort, a lot of looking into how I was and self-reflection. And that got me to where and how I think today, which is this huge level of perseverance for myself, because I realized that the past is simply the past. And I say to people, if I can get through what I got through in my past, which is trauma that would make the worst horror film in pale in comparison.
I tell you, I'm sitting here and I wanted to ask more questions, but it's such a big thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to offend, or I don't want to open that thing up, right? But that's real trauma. Like people think, they have trauma, and in some cases it's not really trauma.
Yeah.
So that's pretty full on. You know what you need to do? You need to buy your mum a house on the beach and make it really expensive, because what I can see is that her influence on you by giving you knowledge and enforcing that has created a very strong mindset in you. I don't know if you know that.
It's a unique combination. It's like the strength from the martial arts, the knowledge, and all of that made this sort of force that I really said to myself, I have no doubt I can do anything, and it's regardless of my past. Without doubt.
Yeah. It's great. I think people in the military who are growing up with that, with that box around them and they're trained a certain way, and martial arts, that has the same resonance for me. So maybe you're lucky that was there from your dad, and your mum was, reinforcing that with knowledge and forcing you to do great things. But so kudos to you for getting over that and getting through that, right? Because that would have been pretty difficult. I don't know many people who could, especially with a situation like that, work themselves out of it. So do you think, here's a question. Do you think that made you stronger?
Oh, without a doubt. And I would honestly not change anything, because things are what they are. And I experienced that experience to give me perspective of where I am now. So I have a greater appreciation for the nice things in life, because I have seen the opposite of that. I have a greater appreciation for love and great connections and friendships and the nice experiences in life, because I've seen the absolute opposite of that. So I've been given this complete spectrum. And I am grateful for that, because it gives me gratitude.
You see it as a blessing, right? To a point. Wow,
yeah, I see it as
crazy.
It is what it is. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, I think when you get hit, you should see it like that. I've got this thing, right? The obstacle is the way. So what gets in the way becomes the way, right? Which is an old Stoic philosophy by Marcus Aurelius, which I love. That's what you did. That obstacle became the propellant for your journey.
It really did. And it gave me a unique perspective of the world, and it gave me an immense amount of
and not a good part of the world, by the way, a very bad part of the world.
That's right. And it showed me that exists in this society, but it doesn't need to be relevant. And, we really have every opportunity to completely enjoy this incredible life that we have. And I never, ever take it for granted.
Just before we started filming this, I think I said to Rory in the car here, 1 in 3 people have access to clean drinking water, so what have you got to complain about? Right?
Yeah.
It's that sense of gratitude.
It is.
Wow, I can't believe that, I have a roof over my head, I have money in the bank, I can support those people around me, contribute, do all that stuff, right?
Definitely.
So let's not forget that. But hey, that's a super interesting story. I could talk about that for ages, but I'm not going to, because we do have to get to the cryptocurrency thing. So, but thank you for sharing that. So, okay, so you hit that adversity, you just carried on, right?
Yes.
So now you're strong, you're focused, you know what you want to do, which is great. So I call that the X factor. That's a true entrepreneur. You're building a company, you're learning about cryptocurrencies, and you think, hey, this is going to change my life, right? Was that I'm going to do this for the rest of my life? Is that what you think about crypto in that space?
Well, one thing I recognised when we were starting this asset, I mean, I always say to people, have you ever had those moments, and I'm sure you've had many of these, where you just know that there is something to this. You just know that there is a long road in front of it, that you're onto something incredible. And that was what we found in crypto. And then for people, we found so many people getting wrecked and so many people making all of these silly mistakes. Not silly, we just don't know we're making the mistakes because it's such a new world. So then we were like, well, let's just show people how it's done, and it was such a rewarding and nice experience to show people how to do that safely. And that sort of then
because it's not a highly regulated space. Well, it's not regulated at all.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I think,
now.
Up until now, right? Yeah. So I remember reading an article, BlackRock just went all in. They've gone in quite big.
Yes.
Yeah, and when BlackRock do something, I pay attention. So I read that article and went, wow, there's something going on here. And then I started, I jumped on Bloomberg, started reading a couple of white papers and stuff like that. So there's some serious traction happening right now, right? And when you see something in the market, you just know.
Yes.
It's like the internet all over again, right?
It is.
I remember AI with ChatGPT in November 2022. When I came across it, I almost fell off my chair and I went, wow, this is going to change the whole world. So you sort of felt like that. You could feel it, right?
Exactly. The same feeling that you had when you looked at ChatGPT and you went this, and it just breaks every part of your brain where you're like, I can see this tick every box. It makes so much sense.
Yeah, it just hits
That's
you.
what cryptocurrency has done. Yeah.
Yeah, it just hits you. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the crux of it, right?
Yeah.
So what's happening in the market right now? Like, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people saying lots of things. I was going to make a joke about Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. I still may do that, by the way. But because I followed that story very closely and I watched his interview. Well, he did, I think, 2 or 3 interviews during that time. It was super interesting, right? It really hit the crypto market. Like people people lost confidence. This is a sham. This is never going to be anything.
Yeah.
The government's never going to regulate this. But all of that sort of changed, and it happened really fast. So where are things at the moment in crypto land?
Yeah, well, what happened with the FTX exchange was a perfect example of what we call a bottoming event. And we never know what these events are that are going to drive the next phase of the market. But what happened with Sam Bankman-Fried was actually on cue for the bottoming event that would cause that huge ripple effect, the crypto winter to kick in and all the pessimism. But that soon is forgotten because we then move into the pre-bull market phase, which is what we're in now. And in January this year, the institutions obviously applied for the launch of their Bitcoin ETFs right through 2023, and they were all approved in January.
Yeah,
And
crazy, right?
Huge.
Crazy.
And the stats are just mind-blowing. Like it's unparalleled what happened. It made ETF history.
So for those who don't know, explain a pre-bull market. It's all those actions and activities that are occurring, right?
Yes.
Which is stirring up the water a little bit.
Yeah. So within every crypto market cycle, there are 4 main phases. You have your bull market, which everyone knows. You have the lead up to that bull market, which is called the pre-bull phase, and that's where we're at now. And the other 2 is when the market starts to drop. No one likes that phase. And of course, the crypto winter phase. And by understanding that there's these four points, you can really time your entry like a pro, and it's quite effortless to do that.
So how long does the pre-bull market go for? Do you know?
It can go anywhere. It can go 6 months up to a year. It really is a phase of the market. So one sort of phases out, one sort of phases in.
So we're about 3 months in, 4 months in?
I would say we're about 3 to 4 months away from entering into the official bull market phase according to history. So again, we
Okay.
just look at the past to predict the future.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so the market drops out, it comes back, confidence comes back into the market, the big players are starting, the whole ETF thing was great.
Yeah.
So if someone's wanting to get into the market now, because it's the perfect time, right? I was listening to your webinar last night, and you were saying that now is the time to do it. So how would someone do that? Like, just get into the market?
Well, I say one of the things you want to be mindful of is there's going to be volatility between now and the bull market, because you have so many big players that are wanting to enter in, and perhaps they don't want to enter in at these prices, and they want to obviously create what we call pullbacks. So we can expect 20, 30, even 40% pullbacks, which are great. I call them natural re-entry points. So a moment where you can jump in and accumulate some crypto. So using things like averaging into the market, not just putting all of your funds in on day one of the market. So by
put a
doing
little
that,
bit of money in. Put a little bit in.
Exactly. Some
dip your toe in the
exposure,
water, so to
dip your
speak.
toe in
Yep.
and dip it in a few different times, not just all at once.
So can I ask, what's it? I'm familiar with ETFs and commodities, shares, and all that sort of stuff, right? But when you say Bitcoin's worth X or crypto's worth X, like, what is it worth now? Can you just wrap some numbers around that for us?
Yeah.
So if I was to put in $1,000, right?
Yes.
What would that buy me?
So $1,000, you could buy a fraction of a Bitcoin.
Yep.
I mean, it's amazing just how quickly that
Are
asset's
they 15
changed.
at the moment or thereabouts? Or
One Bitcoin's about 66,000
oh,
Aussie.
okay. Here's me saying 15,000.
Yeah, you might be thinking
Wow.
there's lots of other cryptos around those numbers.
I remember when they were like $150, right?
Oh, I know. I mean, when we were buying in, it was between $1,000 and $2,000 bucks.
Wow.
And now,
Okay.
for example, one of my first trades was about $900 into a crypto called Neo. That
Yeah.
grew to about over 110,000. Cashed that out for 26 Bitcoin.
Wow.
And just to think, 26 Bitcoin back then, how much is 26 Bitcoin worth now?
Yeah, wow.
So this is also the value of holding for the longer term.
Yeah.
They say in property that we should hodl, we should hold our properties, and the idea
It's about
is
1.5 million, by the way. Sorry.
oh, there you go, maths. They say in property, never sell, right? And just hold forever kind of thing. Crypto is a little bit like that too, hodl and,
So it's a
wait
long
for
game.
the moments.
It's a long game.
I believe it's a long game, and people do trade, but we very much talk about a long-term buy and hold investment strategy. And
So there's investment and trading, right? Two slightly different things.
Correct, yeah.
So one's moving fast and you're buying and selling. The other one is you're holding. Right? What do you do? Do you do both?
I don't trade the market, no.
Yeah.
I do what we would call sort of swing trades, which are sometimes 3 to 4 month holds, and then I'll sell out of that position, roll that into a higher performing cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Or I see that my particular crypto, I've hit a certain target, maybe that's a 10x or a 30x on a particular crypto. I'll lock that in as a gain, and I'll be happy with that because that was what I intended for that crypto to do. So that was a win-win. But other cryptos I've had in my portfolio for 5 years that I've never sold. I've taken a bit of profit off the top in a bull market, but I've just pretty much held the base, or in some cases never sold any of them. Ethereum's a good one to hold for a long time and just let it ride the ups and downs.
So what are the two or three top cryptos that people should invest in? Like, I know Bitcoin's still quite solid. It's been around for a long time. Ethereum, people talk about that a lot. Is that a good?
Well, Bitcoin's a very heavy crypto. There's a lot of investors in it. It takes a lot for Bitcoin to move. And if you're going to put $1,000 into the market and you bought Bitcoin has to double in value for you to just double your $1,000. But you've got other cryptos, for example, new blockchain technology, decentralized finance.
Yeah, got it.
And you can buy one of them for a fraction of a penny. 0.0001 cent.
Yeah.
So you're getting a whole lot more for your grand.
Yeah.
And then you're putting into a crypto that has the ability to do anywhere from a 10. We've had cryptos do up to 10,000x. So you're really letting.
I want that one. Can you tell me what that one is?
What's that crypto?
I want that crypto.
Everyone wants that crypto, right?
Yeah. So do you think you should balance it a little bit? Like, get some security in Bitcoin, Ethereum, those types of maybe 2 or 3 of those, and then also have a hedge in some of the less popular cryptocurrencies?
Yeah. Well, if I was beginning right now, I would most definitely look to, if it was me investing for the first time ever, I'd be putting in anywhere between say 25 to say 50% into something like Ethereum. I would probably park Bitcoin, although, you know, Bitcoin lovers out there would be going, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Because Ethereum's still considered an extremely conservative, lower risk cryptocurrency alongside Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But Bitcoin is a lot heavier to move, whereas Ethereum, for example, we have the May ETF approval. So what the institutions have done for Bitcoin, they're doing for Ethereum in May.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of bullish factors for Ethereum. It's got some
right.
good
So
movement.
that approval is per brand, right? It's not
Per
really
crypto.
for crypto overall. It's,
No.
You have to apply
Yeah.
and it has to be approved.
And that's
Yep.
it. So some people are saying, well, why don't I just go get the ETF now? I don't have to worry about self-custody and going
That's
through
what I
a
was
loophole.
thinking. Yeah.
But
That's what I
you're
was
only
thinking.
exposed to Bitcoin.
Yep.
You know, and what about the other 1,000 odd amazing cryptos that you can have exposure
So
to?
the ETF is only in that vertical.
It's only in that vertical, and the Ethereum one. So now investors may want exposure to Ethereum. So you can see they've gone to these two very conservative cryptos.
Yep.
Because
Playing
they
it
know,
safe. Playing it safe.
playing it safe. So
Yep.
you have a bit of exposure to. You
Yep.
can have Bitcoin, you can have Ethereum,
Yep.
and then the other, say 50 to say 70% of the portfolio is spread into growth sector markets, your AI, your metaverse, your DeFi, your blockchain.
Yeah.
And you hold, say, 10 to 15 of those cryptos, and that is a winning blueprint right there. Yeah.
Okay, let's do this quickly. Give me a quick. You're a broker managing my investment. I'm going to give you $10,000 today. What would you do with it?
Okay, I would put about 2.5 into something like Ethereum.
Yep.
I would then put $1,000 across probably 7 different cryptos, say $500 to $1,000 across cryptos, although there's a couple of new blockchains. So I would sort of equally weight position across decentralized finance, which are DeFi coins.
Yep.
I would go into new blockchain cryptos, so things like Pulse Chain. So you think Ethereum, you've got Ethereum as a whole new blockchain, but there are now competitors to Ethereum because Ethereum's slow. It's like if you're going to drive, you know, from one city to the next and you're going to use the bridge and that bridge is slow, it's got high toll fees. Then next minute you look over there and there's a new bridge with minimal toll fees and 5 lanes that never gets congested. Are you going to consider moving over there and use that bridge next time? This is what blockchain's doing at the moment. So what we do is we look for what's that bridge being built. So new blockchain technology. If you actually look at 7 of the last blockchains have launched, they've done about a 650x in about 1.5 years on average.
That would be getting attention. Like so, in a bull market, that'll be getting a lot of attention.
Well, that was the 650x in 1.4 years on average for the last 7 new blockchains that have launched. That's from their launch to their all-time high price, which happens over a bull market.
That's crazy.
And what we say is, well, okay, they've gone through their first bull market. What we want to do is look for the ones that are about to go through their first bull market now. You know, so they've done their run. We want to pick the new ones that are about to run because the innovation continues. It continues.
Okay. So you're saying, you're going to take my $10,000.
Yes.
You're going to give me some security.
Yes.
Right. And then you're going to divvy up into some of the other.
I'm going to pick a new blockchain.
Yep.
I'm going to pick a top performing crypto in decentralized finance. I'm going to pick a top crypto in the metaverse sector and a top crypto in the AI. And it doesn't take much to find out what they are. You know, you can, you know, that say metaverse, you got Decentraland or these up and coming cryptocurrencies, and you would spread your risk across like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Oh, well, let's do that. And if you could 600x my investment, that'll be great. No. Okay, cool. And look, that's smart though, right? I think when people, I hear some of the youngsters out there going all in on one thing.
Yes.
Like I spoke to a guy, I got 40,000 in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, okay, that's great. Like that's probably secure, but if you diversified, you might be able to, 3x instead of, 0.5x your investment.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So DWG, your company,
Yes.
is it a done with you service or a done for you service?
There's very much a bit of both. So there's all the resources that can support your journey. So all of the technical training. We've over 7 years, we've cut out all of the what we call fluff, and so it's implementation immediately. By the time you get through the first stage, you have an active position in the market, you have a diversified, safe portfolio, and then you have a private coach as well. So that's where you get that done with you. So if you didn't want to go click on all the buttons yourself, you do that over an hour Zoom call with a coach. Click here, go to this exchange, move the money there, and then next minute you have a fully set up portfolio ready to go on the market, that's safe, that's secured, that's in your name, that can never be shut down from an exchange.
Yeah.
And you're ready to ride the bull market.
Something just hit, this is completely off topic. I'm going to pivot a little bit. GameStop just hit my brain for some reason. I don't know if you remember GameStop shares and what happened with that situation and that scenario. Okay, so it was really highly influenced by social media, right? Like these shares were worth nothing, and all of a sudden they're worth,
social consensus.
They're 100x just based on social consensus, right?
Yes.
It's crazy what happened. It was very emotional.
Yeah.
Lots of people made lots of money, and lots of people lost money, right? So people who had no money because of the popularity on social media, everyone got on board, and people just started buying shares, and they were going crazy. It was a retail store, bricks and mortar store. Through COVID, this occurred. So, my question would be, in terms of crypto, do you think it's still highly influential as a social influence for investment? Like, are people investing in crypto because it was a bit of a trend, people getting on board and talking about it was new, it was exciting, and it was very technologically based, right? So the blockchain, people were fascinated by that. Do you think that'll go away? Do you think it's starting to become a serious investment because of BlackRock's getting on board? Do you think this is going to change in the next few years where these serious investors come on board and it all changes?
Well, right. I mean, that's a great question because really up until now, we've had what we call mainly retail investment only.
Yep.
Retail is your everyday mum and dad investor. It's me, I can jump on there and go invest. And that was really what people thought crypto was. It was highly driven by social consensus. It was what we call meme coins, pump groups, which would, promote a certain crypto, and then everyone would be buying in. And there was a lot of that going on between 2017 and say now. But I would say from the last bull market of 2021 was really when crypto hit the center stage, became a legitimate asset class, and then the institutional involvement has now made it so much more of a legitimate asset class, something that holds its own. It's televised. It's in print now. It's referenced in financial reviews. It's
maturing. It's
maturing.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And there is still, without a doubt, that social aspect to it. Like you've got Pepe, you've got Dogecoin, these sorts of funny cryptos that are literally designed, what I say, to dump on your head. They've got no utility and people just love them. They pump the price, people make millions, but they don't hold anything except a social consensus pegged to it.
Do you think the banking sector will fold in the rising of blockchain?
I think they initially were pushing cryptocurrencies and the whole blockchain movement aside, but now they're joining that in CBDCs and what we've already seen with the institutional movement.
Yeah, I think they'll adopt it. They'll invest in it.
Well, they're creating like NAB created their stable coin, and like they're already using it for cross-border transactions as opposed to your usual payment, international remittances and things. So blockchains are actually one of the biggest adopters of blockchain. There's a huge misconception all the way back to the beginning that banks hate blockchain. But there's an interesting thing going on because many day-to-day investors are getting blocked out of their exchanges because the bank is saying, we don't like you involving with crypto, but then they're actually creating crypto services at the same time.
Yeah, well, it's like any market. Some banks will adopt it, some will be too slow, and it may be too late for them.
Definitely.
Because they certainly have the funds to do that. Yeah. Blanks, and that's the thing, right? I think with this type of technology, you have to move fast.
Yes.
Because, the year you're saying 2022, 2021, that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
It's like it took 50 years to get ATMs fully operational into banks in this country, right? That's how long it took.
Yeah.
And this is happening in a matter of 1 or 2 years.
Well, I would say to my accountant, I said, the writing is on the wall. I said, start learning cryptocurrencies now because before you know it, you're going to have every client asking 100%. You about it. And he said, no, kind of played it down. And then now it can't keep up. It's every single person has some aspect of crypto on their tax.
Do you think that investors are moving from, like, when you have a 401k or you're using superannuation, you're expecting to get 5%, maybe, 6%. That's great.
Yeah.
Do you think the expectation has shifted where people now just these young investors want to do 100x, right? That's sort of the thing, right? What happens to all of that 401k stuff? Do you think that falls over a little bit? Do you think those general portfolios where the governments have superannuation portfolios for the public, for people? Does that go away? Does it all change? Does that influence all of that?
So do you mean in relation to what people are doing with their self-managed super funds?
Yeah, like...
There's definitely a shift where people are saying that doesn't work for me anymore. We want this option
Because
instead.
I hear that. They say, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to do this now. So they're pulling their pulling their money out.
They are.
And then how does that impact federal governments and their investments? You know what I mean? Because they use that as well.
Yeah.
You know, we give them basically 11%.
Yes.
We give these big companies 11% to invest for us, right?
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't thought too much.
Yeah, crazy.
Not down that rabbit hole. But
Okay, so I've given you $10,000. You've made me 600x. I'm going to buy a nice house on the beach on the Gold Coast. So what's happening with the company now? So you're getting a little bit of traction, which is great to see. You're heavily invested. You've got a book here and another one sitting over on the shelf.
Yes.
So what's next for you in the company?
Well, we have a goal to help 30,000 people, 30,000 families become financially free. We've about 10,000 in at the moment.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. We've helped about 50, we've created about 55 actually the exact number is 55 multi-millionaires through crypto.
Yeah.
So we have these
How do you track
metrics.
that? Do you stay in contact with or do
We
you?
do,
What?
yes.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
We have surveys, we track people, we know when
Yeah.
people begun, we roughly know when people entered into the markets.
Yeah.
And they're sort of, we have really close connection with a lot of our members. We have great community of alumni students and very
I sort of feel
thriving
that's
community.
a driver for you, right?
It is,
Because
yeah.
you've said the word community probably about 10 times in this conversation.
Yeah.
So that's important to you.
It is, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I
Yep.
do love seeing people come together. I love having a safe place for people to invest where they can trust and they can have, you know what I love is hope. I love for people to have hope. We live in a very uncertain world. There's so much geopolitical uncertainty. There's so much things that, you know, we already saw what happened over the last few years where our freedom can be changed in a matter of moments. And I always say to people, how do we remove ourselves from that narrative and into a more self-sovereign narrative? And that's where I love this idea of giving hope to people. I feel like I'm a walking proof of that hope and really being a role model to say you can absolutely do it. I never anticipated the level of wealth I would move into through crypto. My life has radically changed in 6 to 7 years. I mean, I was an average Australian income earner. Never dreamt in a million years I would be where I am today. And that's why I say to people, never think it's a whole nother lifetime away, because it can just be a few decisions that you make. That really
Well, as we
can
said at the
seize.
start, right, it's simply a decision.
It
But I
is,
think
yeah.
people need exposure to it, because if they don't see it, they never get the opportunity to make the decision.
Correct, yeah.
So I love that sense of community you have about helping people. I think that's awesome. Man,
Yeah.
imagine when you do that amount of people, 30,000 people, how much
Yes.
that's going to influence
Yeah.
those communities and those family narratives.
Well, it's a ripple
for
effect.
years to come, by the way.
Yes,
Not
yeah.
just short term.
Yeah, well, we speak a lot about generational wealth, you know,
Yeah.
and that's really what we look for. We don't go for the shiny objects. There's a million shiny objects
Yeah.
in crypto. We
Yeah.
go for the true wealth creation strategies. They might take 2 to 4 years, but how quick does 2 to 4 years go? You know,
It's funny, right? 2 to 4 years is nothing.
I mean, 4 years ago
Like-
was 2020.
Yeah.
It's like, how is that?
I said to you, I'm coaching a couple of young entrepreneurs at the moment. I said, what you need to get your head right, because he wants to be a millionaire in 6 months. I
Yeah.
said, that's not going to happen. It'll never happen.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yes.
I even said to him, Bitcoin's not going to do that for you. I said to him, you know, think about what if you had to work for 3 years without being paid at doing something. When you get into that space, you can
Yes.
achieve great things, right?
Yes.
So, okay, so I get that narrative about you. So it's a long game. Helping families create wealth is a long game. That's why you're not, hey, get in, make a whole bunch of money and get out. You don't have that sense of conversation about you, which is awesome. Okay, so what about the future though? Like, so you hit your 30,000. Like, what's the goal for DWG? Do you do something different? Are you looking to do something different in the company? Expand your services? What's going on there?
I like what we do. We've got a good thing going and we help a lot of people. So the sort of, we are creating a lot of philanthropic groups and there's a lot of philanthropic movement. So a lot
Like
of people
what exactly?
create a lot of wealth. So
Yeah.
land banks and all along the lines of self-sovereignty,
Yeah.
sort of planting for the future, things like that. So we have a lot of members that are coming together now to create groups to bring other members together that have come into a lot of wealth through crypto and sort of having those conversations around what is for the future now. How do we give value back to the community based off what we have achieved? So there's a lot of that going on at the moment, and that's where I very much see Digital Wealth Group moving into. I think the education will continue. This space moves so fast. My brother used to say,
It does.
my brother used to say, crypto is like a fire hose to the face of financial opportunity. And that is really a best, it's a real good visual.
Yeah, it is. I just imagine that. So what's the risks though, right? Like if there was someone out there watching this and they wanted to go in, you know, the advice would probably don't go all in, right? You've said that. That would be risky.
Yes.
So what would be? So what are the risks if people are looking to invest into cryptocurrencies?
Well, the main risk is always in the beholder. So it's what are you doing with that money and where is it stored? So a lot of the scams you hear about is often because people are getting caught up in things that they shouldn't. They're chasing the get rich quick scams, the shiny objects, these things that basically entice your crypto out of your hands. So I always say that if something sounds too good to be true, it 100% always usually is. Often these platforms which promise X amount of gains, you know, check your app every month, whatever that may be. All of these sorts of platforms are 99% of the time a scam. And while some of them are definitely legitimate, the risk is far outweighs the possibility that it isn't. So most of the time I say to avoid that risk, you want to have everything. You want to own the private keys to your cryptocurrency, meaning you're not relying on someone else to give you something back. You go buy the cryptos, you store them in a wallet you control, that wallet is in your possession, and you're not entrusting that to a third party. So what happened in 2021 with all the fall of all these, collapse of all these exchanges, people got so burnt because people had their money sitting on exchanges when you shouldn't. They had money sitting in third parties earning high interest. You know, again, it was out of their control. So this is where I love things like DeFi because you can do everything decentralized.
Well, hang on a minute. Let me just wind back on that. So sitting in a public exchange was... so are you saying people can hack that exchange? Was that the point there?
Well, no. So what happens is when people leave money on the exchange, it's sort of like I say, an exchange is like a shopping center, okay? You never leave your groceries. You shouldn't leave your groceries and bags sitting in there, okay? Exchanges are what hackers look like. Exchanges are what scammers see as honeypots. So they don't go for the 1 or 2, 3 investors that might have $100K or $1 million sitting in their wallets. They go for the exchanges where there is millions and millions of dollars tied up with people just letting their money sit on the exchange. And they want to wipe that. They want to take $15 to $25 million from that exchange. That's where the risk is. And remember, if it's on the exchange, it's what the exchange owes you.
So here's a question. So are people managing their investment themselves or are they using brokers to do that?
No, they're managing it themselves.
Why are they not using brokers?
Because there is no regulation around that. But here's the thing. People do go to brokers thinking they're brokers. They apply the same trust that they do to have their stockbroker and they get scammed. You know, we had a gentleman, $550,000 US he'd entrusted to a crypto broker that wasn't a crypto broker because he had stock portfolios in the millions. And he just thought this was the same sort of philosophy can be applied, the same sort of attitude can be applied to crypto. It's fine, isn't it? $550,000 US gone just like that.
Well, there's a risk. That's a huge risk. That would be my thing though, right? I would go, if I'm going to invest in crypto and I am, I think I'll get into the market. I'm going to go and look at my account. That's been sitting there for 6 years, 7 years. But I would go to a broker, and the reason I would do that is because I'm very time poor. I've got three or four companies. I've got 4 companies to run.
That's what scammers rely on.
And that's what scammers rely on.
100%.
So when you do the searches, they've got the marketing pages. They've got all the stuff there.
It looks like you would go to a stockbroker. It looks identical.
It looks impressive.
Absolutely.
They've got SEO attached to that.
Everything.
And that's where they get you.
And
so
even
that's a
some
risk.
of them have the Google ads, so you even think, oh, like it's even more legitimate because it's blue and it's above all the other ones. Like there are such sophisticated scams, but the golden rule is keep it in your custody because the space isn't regulated enough. That's why institutions have moved in to provide regulated services.
Here's a side hustle for your business. And Tony Robbins did this, right? I remember it's such an incredible thing to do for the country is he invested in vetting the top financial planners and advisors in America.
Interesting.
Right? Through an algorithm that he created and then creating a tag for them. So because all these financial, like, you know, when you go to a financial advisor, I've got 20 years of experience and blah, 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 and all this sort of stuff. And it's actually not true.
Yep.
So they take your money and you don't get anything for it.
Yes.
Like, he was seeing that was occurring, and so he did something about it. What you guys could do is you could go, hey, there's 3 or 4 brokers in this country that we truly trust, we know who they are, and vet them, right, for your clients. I don't know, that was an idea, because I would find that very helpful. Because
even then again, though, it's sometimes the people that, this is what happened in 2021, people that seemed branding on the side of Formula One vehicles, and then the whole thing is a rug pull. You know, this is the thing, when
right?
there's no regulation, you can't verify hand on heart that it is regulated.
yeah, there's
and
no
safe.
license for that
That's
for
correct.
that broker.
There's no intense
there's no
AFSL
governance.
licenses required, things like that.
Yeah.
Nothing,
So
yeah.
it's just a referral, right? Hey, use this guy.
Exactly. And referral, again, there's risk in referral.
100%.
So that's why I say self-custody is really your only option if you want to do crypto right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are bringing in a lot of risk.
Bringing a lot of risk.
You can do it, but there's risk.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about security quickly. So you're like, okay, so it's passcodes, right?
Yes.
You got to have your passcodes. So there's a hardware and a software version of maintaining passcodes for your investment.
Yeah, so you can have a software app version, but the safest one is what we call offline cold storage. It's an actual hardware. It looks like a USB stick. It has a set of what we call private keys or passwords, etc. Attached to that, 12, 24 primary school words, essentially. And that is the master key to your crypto. That's the crypto, that's the master key to your digital vault.
Yep.
And that gives you full control and custody of your crypto.
Yeah, cool. And that's what you advise to do. It's just,
100%.
Hardware. So just keep the hardware. And
And then everything you want to do in the crypto space, you can do from within that hardware wallet.
Yeah.
All the many opportunities in crypto can all be done. Everything can be done in a safe way where you have full control over it.
So I'm going to go back to that question again. So I'm trying to figure this out myself. So if I want to get in the market, but I can't do it, what would you advise me to do? Instead, because I don't want to manage it myself, right? I just don't have the time. I don't know a lot about it. I'm still learning, and I'm super time poor. So what would I do? Because I have friends who are in that space as well. They said, look, I can't manage it. I don't have time to look at it. I don't know what coins to diversify in. What would be the advice for those guys and girls?
Well, the advice is you can either... I would not even advise to take that risk with a third party because the regulation doesn't simply exist. The other thing would to be have a coach, someone that is a trusted crypto investor around you, or a coach that you know that can do it for you in a matter of a couple of hours, have everything set up. The other thing is, it's a good question because there really is, you do have to take those 2 or 3 extra steps. And I say that it is the fastest appreciating asset in the world. Why would we not put maybe an hour a week for 4 weeks aside just to get a basic portfolio?
Well, that was my next question. How long does it take out of someone's schedule, right? So you're saying about an hour a week should get you started?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So, initially it depends on how much of a deep dive you want to do into it. But the basics, you get your security, you get you registered on exchange, which takes a few days. You start buying a few cryptocurrencies, you store them on your wallet and you leave it. Then you can get on with your busy life.
Yeah, got it.
And you're not trading. You just wait for the market to be sitting right at that sort of juicy spot at the top of a bull market, take a bit of profit and wait another 3 years to do it all again.
So if I bought your services, DWG, you would sort of outline and give me the framework for this is what your investment will look like?
Yeah,
and
that's
you'd
correct.
sort of help me put it together.
Yeah, that's right. So we would give you a short list of cryptocurrencies.
Yep.
We would then help you purchase them, store them safely, and then let you know when the market is sitting in a good spot to be positioning be exiting out of the market. So you don't have to be sort of learning everything yourself. We do shortcut that knowledge. I always say the education sort of catches up. It has to, because the crypto is such a huge spectrum. So we do assist people to get into the market as quickly as possible without learning everything first. And
how long is that process though? How long does that take? Like the learning, getting them set up, getting them in the market. Is that like you do it in, is it 30 days? Is it?
No, so about 2 to 3 weeks we have investors set up with their portfolios, even sooner, depending on when people book their sessions in with their coach. Each session's about an hour, and 2 to 3 hours, majority of that work is completed. The most important thing is we understand your risk tolerance, the capital you're putting in, and how you're deploying that capital. Are you putting it all in at once? What time of the market are we in? Is it a good time to be putting it all in because we're in in the bottom of the market and you only got upside in front of you? Are we sitting at a really high point in the market and we need to have a more step-by-step approach, maybe allocating in $1,000, every 3 days into the market, despite what the prices are? So there's different approaches that you can apply, but definitely a little bit of strategy is needed. And then you pretty much just get your whole portfolio and you ride the wave. And that's the most exciting thing. Getting skin in the game is key.
Yeah, you've got to be in it, right?
Absolutely.
You've got to be in it. And I know what you mean about regulation. It's not regulated, so it's risky, right? To find somebody who's licensed and governed to do the right thing by you, which is a real bit of a pain in the ass, I've got to be honest with you.
I know.
So you're saying I've got to invest an hour of my time at least every week, maybe a couple of hours to do it. But
just for a little while.
But the upside's there, right? Yeah. So you should, it's funny, right? You should focus on the things that matter. And if you're looking to invest and make money, maybe this is one of those things.
Well, I say to people, we go to work for 60 hours to generate so much money per week. But how much of that time do we spend?
Such a good way to look at it.
How much time do we spend
such a good way to look at it.
allocating into something that could potentially retire us in 2 to 4 years? And many people go, I don't have an hour, but hold on, you have 50 hours for a set income that you're making.
Yeah. Well, for working 75K a year.
Yeah, that's
you know
right.
What I mean?
I know. Exactly.
I always say, some people go out and spend their whole weekend socializing.
Yes, exactly.
And talking about dumb shit when they could be investing a little bit more in themselves and their future and for their children and their families and their friends, right? So that's a good lens to look at it. So we're going to leave it there, but it's a super interesting conversation. I really want to thank you for your time. There's a couple of things I noticed about you. You've gone through that big hit in your life, which was super astounding how you managed to turn that around. When I constantly think about that word trauma because I think in today's society I hear it a lot. And what they think is trauma compared to what you've gone through is not trauma. So you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you.
And I said you should buy your mum a house because I think her support behind you is super passionate and I think has had a huge influence on you.
Oh, huge. Tremendous.
I love that you talk about passion, right? Because that tells me that you're operating from the right place where I think people in crypto are looking just to make money, get out and rip people off.
Yeah.
So
passion and purpose, it's the fuel.
Yeah, 100%.
Living
100%.
in alignment to passion and purpose, and then you never work a day in your life ever.
Yeah. So that's super incredible what you've achieved, especially going through that. I think that's just incredible. I'm a little bit blown away by it. I'll be honest with you, because I think that's very rare to see these days. There's 2 roads to choose, right? That way or that way.
Definitely.
That one's not going to work. This is going to put your life back on track. So you've managed to do that. So you should be very proud of that.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for your time. It's been awesome talking to you.
Thanks, Lawrence. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much for tuning into Business Beats podcast today. Look, we hope you enjoyed the episode as much as we enjoyed putting it together for you. Every story we share and every conversation we have, it's all part of a bigger picture. Connecting with you, our listener, and pushing out value. That's what we're here for. If you like what you heard today and want to be part of our growing community, don't forget to subscribe. Subscribing not only gives you automatic updates for new episodes, but also access to other cool stuff, soon to be released books, courses, and more. Your engagement truly makes a difference, and we sincerely appreciate it.